The Color of Choice. Part 1, Broken Heart. Chapter 9, Midnight Blue Choice. Sometimes a choice is not made by logic or intention. Sometimes it appears quietly, like a small door opening in the middle of a long and exhausting road. One evening in Miami, I met a man from a dating website. He was younger than me, light in conversation, easy to talk to. He often suggested we meet and always said that age did not matter. Still, it mattered to me. I was older, and that made me hesitant. At that time, my life in Miami was fragile and unfinished. I was recovering from a car accident. My leg still hurt from a fracture, and I walked with a cane. At the same time, I had started studying at a medical college and had recently found a job in a hospital. My days were filled with study, work, and the quiet effort of rebuilding a life in a new place. From time to time, he wrote to me. Sometimes he invited me to dinner. Sometimes he suggested going somewhere together. But I always felt that I had no time. And honestly, something else stopped me. The age difference. At one moment, I even thought he might be a better match for my older daughter. She had recently gone through a divorce, and I imagined that perhaps he could make her happy. Maybe she would come to America. Maybe something good could grow from that introduction. So I introduced them. They began to write to each other, but their communication never moved forward. He expressed admiration and interest, yet he never made real plans to meet her. Months passed in this strange virtual admiration that led nowhere. Eventually, my daughter grew tired of the empty correspondence and stopped replying. Life moved on. Then one day, after passing an important exam and receiving my certificate as a surgical technologist, I felt an unexpected desire to celebrate. It had been a long road. Pain, study, uncertainty, loneliness. And suddenly I remembered him. He lived in Miami Beach, in the northern part of the island. I drove there that evening. We began with cocktails. He made them well, perhaps too well. We talked, laughed, and slowly the alcohol softened the edges of the months I had lived through. For the first time in a long time, I felt that someone was simply listening. I told him about my love story in Boston, about the pain and confusion that followed it. He listened quietly and with sympathy. Sometimes what a person needs most is not advice, but simply a pair of ears and a calm presence across the table. After some time, he went into the kitchen and returned with tequila. We drank. The night became blurred by laughter, stories, and the warmth of alcohol. At some point, I felt a sudden wave of strong physical attraction. To this day, I do not know whether it was simply the alcohol, emotional exhaustion, or something else entirely. What followed was intimacy. Perhaps it was unnecessary. Perhaps it was simply human. We were both very drunk, and the memory of that moment is almost completely erased, like a scene in a film that fades before the viewer can understand what truly happened. In the morning, I quietly left. He apologized that there was no breakfast. I told him it was fine and drove home through the soft morning light of Miami Beach. Later, I learned that my daughter had met another man. They began a relationship and eventually married. Life had already moved forward in its own direction. After that night, we wrote to each other a few times, and then the connection slowly dissolved. What remained was only the memory of an unusual evening. Was it a mistake? Perhaps the only real mistake was introducing him to my daughter before I understood who he was in my own life. That confusion of roles created the awkwardness that followed, but the night itself was something else. That night, I released months of pain, stress, loneliness, and emotional fatigue. After the accident, after disappointment, after the long effort of rebuilding my life, I allowed myself to breathe. Would I choose it again? Perhaps I would. Because sometimes a human heart simply needs a moment of warmth, a long conversation, and the permission to forget its burdens for a few hours. If I had to give that choice a color, it would be blue. Not bright blue like a summer sky, but deep midnight blue, like the ocean near Miami after sunset, like the quiet conversations that happen when people lower their defenses, like the calm that sometimes follows a long storm inside the heart. Some choices are red with passion, some are black with regret, some are gray with emptiness. But this one was midnight blue, the color of release, the color of the ocean at night, and the color of a soul that finally allowed itself to rest.